Welcome to the takeoff lesson. Today we will practice taking off in the P-51D. Press the spacebar key to begin. The P-51 is generally very controllable in takeoff, but the powerful engine and large propeller spinning at the front do require careful use of the rudder in order to maintain a straight course down the runway. A right rudder trim of 5 to 6 degrees is a standard takeoff setting and is usually sufficient to maintain directional stability in the takeoff run. A normal takeoff is performed at takeoff power, which is 61 inches of manifold pressure at 3,000 RPM. However, to minimize controllability issues while practicing, we will take off at a reduced power setting of about 50 inches of manifold pressure. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Your primary instruments during the takeoff run will be the airspeed indicator on the left side of the instrument panel and the manifold pressure indicator on the right side. Once in the air, we will use the turn indicator and the rate of climb indicator to maintain a desired flight path. Press the spacebar key to proceed. The first key element of a successful takeoff is a gradual onset of power. You cannot just slam the throttle forward. The torque effects of a sudden burst of power are very likely to run you off the runway and into the grass with devastating results. The other key element is the tail lift. As the aircraft accelerates toward 100 miles per hour, the tail will lift itself off the ground, unless held down with some stick back pressure. You can perform a takeoff without a tail lift by simply holding the stick back to maintain a 3-point attitude until the plane flies itself off the ground. Most pilots, however, prefer to let the tail rise up to continue accelerating while running on the front wheels before lifting off into the air. Press the spacebar key to proceed. The takeoff starts with the stick held back to keep the tail wheel locked for a controlled ground run. To perform a tail lift, neutralize the stick as speed approaches 100 miles per hour. Be careful to avoid lifting the tail too early by pushing the stick forward. The changes in pitch angles occurring during the tail lift cause significant directional instability, which is more difficult to control at slower speeds. Careful rudder input will be required to maintain heading as the tail lifts. You may need to alternate a bit of right and left rudder input before stabilizing for the liftoff. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Flaps are not used in a normal takeoff. 15 to 20 degrees of down flaps are used when a minimum run takeoff is required. Press right control plus enter to open the controls indicator so you can monitor the position of your flight controls. To prepare for the takeoff run, set the rudder trim to about 5 degrees right. Click and drag the rudder trim tab control wheel. On the throttle quadrant, make sure the RPM lever is set all the way forward to increase. If not, press and hold the page up key to set it. Hold down the wheel brakes using the W key. Using the numpad plus and minus keys, control the throttle to set the manifold pressure to about 30 inches. Keep the stick pulled somewhat aft of neutral to keep the tail wheel locked. Whenever you're ready, release the wheel brakes to begin the takeoff run. Use the rudder or Z and X keys to maintain your heading down the runway. Gradually add power to set about 50 inches of manifold pressure. Neutralize the stick to lift the tail. Easy on the rudder. Gently pull back on the stick to take off. Watch the turn indicator and use your rudder and aileron control to maintain your takeoff flight path by keeping the ball in neutral sitting. Retract the gear with the G key. Monitor the landing gear warning lights to make sure the gear retracts and locks successfully. Lights extinguished. Check the engine gauge to make sure the oil temperature and pressure are showing normal readings. Also check the coolant temperature before loading. Reduce power to maximum continuous by first setting 46 inches manifold pressure and then reducing RPM to 2700. A good approximate climb speed is 178 gauge. Set a desired climb rate using the rate of climb indicator and trim the aircraft to maintain the flight pattern. As you continue to climb, monitor the instruments to make sure they